Good morning, Facebook. Oh. Check, check. Hello, hello.
My goodness. Oops.
Check, check. Good morning, good morning.
What is happening? We're so confused over here.
Okay. What's up, Josh? Short-term separation, like a couple of weeks. Okay.
Nope, I have information on it. We
Okay,
can talk
good.
about it.
I'm really
Check,
interested
check.
in that. Thank you for the question. I'm interested in a cheat day today.
Friday's your cheat day?
Yep.
Bakery Nouveau. Bakery Nouveau. Bakery Bakery Nouveau. Gonna get me
Called the
Kissie's
sprinkler.
chocolates.
That's right. It's on my surprise list. Okay, let's do this. I gotta go.
Okay.
To the nouveau.
Ready?
Look, the door's open.
What?
All right.
Can you hear yourself okay? I feel like
Check,
it's
check.
super
Hello?
quiet.
Yeah, I can hear himself fine.
Check, check, check.
Good morning. Hello.
Is that too loud?
Hola, Studleys. Hey, Andy.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning, Stephen. Scones. Yes.
It's really like their pear danishes.
Can we call this Can we change everything?
What do you want to call it? Anatomy of Bakery Nouveau.
Yeah.
No.
Anatomy of Delicious.
Okay, ready? Here we go.
All right.
Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning, my name.
Oh,
Jeez.
let's start over.
Frog. Okay.
Ew. Just kidding.
All right.
Here,
There we go.
have a sip. You're gonna choke.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, one more time.
All right.
Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning. My name is Seth Studley, and today is day 41. I am a licensed marriage and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Thank you for joining this morning. Today we're going to talk about possible adult attachment disorder, real talk, and experience with organized religion in our own faith journey.
We are also going to talk about taking a separation in your marriage for a while.
That's right.
And if you're new here, welcome. We have over 250 episodes covering all sorts of marriage-related things. You can listen to season 1, which is our journey of almost getting divorced, but not getting divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, our show is brought to us by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage to get your free audiobook. We love audiobooks. We listen to them literally weekly.
Yep.
We go through a book a week practically. And we want that for you. So check that out. Thank you for joining us. And we are also live on Facebook and Instagram right now. So you can always join us on Facebook and Instagram. Seth just dropped his microphone. And ask your questions. So yeah, so before we read the questions, let's read the review of the day.
Okay, here we go. And we're going to get to your guys' Instagram live questions because you responded. Oh, let's see. Review of the day. Michelle J. in MV. Maple Hill?
I think I know who that is.
It's your friend?
I know.
Okay. Real talk that's really helpful. Thank you both for your courage, your openness, and your willingness to share your journey. I get something out of every single episode. I love season 1 and I'm hooked on the daily formats. I even try to catch it some mornings while on my podcast listening, self-caring, get my steps in, dog walks. I have to say that the single most helpful aspect for me has been simply listening to how the two of you talk about difficult things together with love and respect in your own truth. Thank you.
You're so
welcome.
welcome.
You, Michelle J. in, I hope, Maple Valley.
We love you.
Yes.
Thank you for sending that review in. And to everyone who's listening, if you enjoy the show, please write a review and rate the show. It's very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It is very helpful.
question number 1.
Okay, hold on. I want to hit these Instagram questions real quick because you guys asked. So let's see. One of our friends says, book recommendations for differentiating. Okay, I have the absolute perfect book. It is called Family Ties That Bind. It is red with a Russian little dolls on it.
Russian nesting
and
dolls.
I believe the author's last name is Richardson, I think. So if you Google Family Ties That Bind book, it'll come up on Amazon. It's like $12. It's super cheap. But that one, read that one, and it'll help you understand family. It'll help you understand differentiation. And there's another graduate level book that's about like this thick, written by Murray Bowen and somebody else.
Bowen Family Systems?
Bowen Family Systems, yeah, and it's called Bowen Therapy. It's like it's
a
insane to
textbook.
read, but it's awesome. But the first one, Family Ties That Bind, let's see. Is today the sing-along episode? Yeah, maybe.
I would also suggest reading anything by Dr. Dan Siegel.
Mm-hmm.
He has what does he have? What is his one book? He's got a book called
Mindsight.
Yeah, Mindsight. And they're pretty, I mean, he's like a professor-ish guy, so they're pretty intense. But
Not professor-ish, he is.
I mean, he's dreamy.
There we go.
Oh, and you could listen to Therapists Uncensored. That's a podcast, and they probably have something on differentiation. They're amazing. We want to have them on the show.
Yeah. Gator chomp.
So anyway.
Okay.
Thank you for those questions.
Yeah. Okay.
And our question is.
I'm going to read this one and we'll have a discussion on it, and I'll kind of abbreviate it. I recently started listening to your podcast and have become obsessed and so grateful for it. Good. You're welcome. I started with the very beginning and am just finishing up the episode of Adult Attachment Disorder. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm trying not to diagnose my husband, but hearing how life was with Seth makes me think of how it kind of is with my husband. Please don't take this as trash talking him. I love him very much and am thankful for him. It just gets hard. He picks the place we eat. He picks the movies. He even makes me watch horror films sometimes when I say no, time and time again. It's the shows he wants to watch, the topic he wants to talk about, etc. It's a really big part of our lives. Oh, he's in the military, so his job is a really big part of our lives, and especially his, but he's never respectful of me or what I do. Like, it's always about him. It's always about me and my problems. I currently have been seeing a counselor for a year, and it's been the best thing ever. But he never owns up to anything, and I know I have issues, especially from my past. But dang, he's not perfect. I don't even know what my question is, but I just needed to get this out. So thank you for venting.
Yeah.
Venting and processing is like 80% of what I listen to all day in my job and stuff. So that's fine.
Well,
if you want to vent and process, send that in.
Well, and I want to say too, join our Facebook pages, the men's and the women's Facebook pages, and our group. Like, that is a space where you can vent. And you are supported. Like, we don't trash talk our partners. That's not it at all.
Not
but
at all.
You can send in your questions that are vents, but also, like, this is a community, our bigger community of people who care about your marriage and are supportive. So thank you for sending that in and getting it off of your chest, kind of. But so, what are your thoughts? Did you have thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you're doing your own work. Again, we espouse the efficacy and the benefit of doing your own work before you go call out your partner's stuff. And so good job on that. Keep on going to therapy once a week. That's awesome. Read all the books you can. Get free books on Audible. And I'm not sure, this sounds maybe like a kind of what we've been talking about recently in Enneagram 8, always what the other partner wants to do, and maybe adult attachment disorder. Sometimes when we blame, like when I was blaming you for a bunch of stuff, like, you never do this, it's just projecting. Right? Yeah. That is projection. I even wrote down a quote. Oh, darn it. It's on that phone. But anyway, the quote is like, when we are when we're critical, when we're projecting, when we're finding faults, it's literally holding a mirror up to ourselves and go, these are the things that I need to work on. So your husband, more likely than not, needs to work on all that stuff. If you can never do anything right, if your thoughts are goofy or whatever, he's thinking that about himself. And then he's kind of like maybe adult attachment disordering. Like, okay, you're not safe to connect with. I can do it on my own. I'm better over here. And the more that I throw those out, then I'm gonna cut you off at the pass and not have you say those hurtful things back to me, because I know that they're true and I know that they need to be worked on.
Well, one thing I wanted to say before we continue talking more about it is, will you talk about what adult attachment disorder is for those people who haven't heard that episode, and also what she is referencing in this question is Seth did an episode by himself called Adult Attachment Disorder. So you can search that on our website, anatomyofmarriage.com, and if you just put it in the search bar, adult attachment, it will pop up. And so you can hear that episode. It's totally different than everything else we've done. It's a one-off, totally cool episode. Really, really great. Very impactful. Lots of people write us about that episode.
Right.
So, but I want to talk about what adult attachment disorder is and why it matters. And honestly, if you're interested in this topic, go listen to Therapists Uncensored. Yeah. That is their whole deal, is attachment theory. That's all they talk about in every episode. And they have like 70 episodes.
So, okay. I didn't know I was going to be put on the spot. I should have done more research.
You're a therapist. You should know this.
I know. So, attachment theory, right? We have healthy attachments. We have unhealthy attachments. We have reactive attachment disorder. We have disorganized. We have, there's a handful of them, right? But adult attachment disorder kind of goes into your adult life and like, okay, I attach to people in this certain way. I don't get them too close, or it can be like too close, like over, what is it called?
Was anxious separation anxiety type of
there's
attachment.
Anxious attachment. There's
Well, let me explain how I view it.
Okay.
Is like it's the way that you learn to interact with the adults in your life when you were really little.
Right.
So if you had a very anxious mom or dad who like every time they came home, or like let's say every time dad came home he was drinking, and so you learned I can only trust to a certain point, and then he might hit me or he might yell at me. So you have, in a sense, you're not like totally normal in air quotes. You actually adjust your ability to attach to someone based on the people you have to attach to when you're very little.
Right.
So if you have super loving, people who hug you, you feel so safe,
right.
then you have a healthy balance of attachment. But if you have a parent who is abusive or really anxiety ridden, you will learn those patterns, and then you will attach to other people in that same way without knowing it at all. You have no realization that you're doing it. So that's what Seth was doing.
And when you have kids, you will perpetuate that.
Yes, you will you will unintentionally just train them to attach the way that you whatever. And so that's what Seth was doing, is he had adult attachment disorder, or has, or whatever. And so he was doing some things where it was like he actually wasn't fully I don't know what the word, like a tuning, or
Well, yeah, it just makes you not present. It makes your mind elsewhere and just kind of guarded a lot of times, and that got old, and I realized it, and it's something even I wrote in my journal today. I was like, okay, what's the number one thing you can do? Be present in anything.
Yeah.
And it's really a very, very conscious effort. Bohemian Bro says, Mel, you look fancy. Meow.
Oh, I parted my hair different. That's about all I did, so I'm glad it worked out.
Nice. Hello, good morning.
Well, one of the things I wanted to say too is that what happens when you have this type of attachment style, there's styles to it, is that it's like you're creating mechanisms. So a phone is a good example. Like you can get distracted by a phone, but that distraction is acting as a way to avoid deeper connection. Yeah, it's a buffer. It's like a barrier between you and your partner. And so people do this all the time in lots of different ways, but we don't realize that we do it. And then
that concept, sorry to interrupt, that concept is called triangulation, right? So if you and I are having something, we get along sometimes, there's just one thing that's like, guess who guess who can diffuse this? Oh, a kid, a podcast, a job, a whatever. That we're triangulating, So, what are we going to talk about?
So it can't just be me and you. It's got to be like, we're going to do this other thing here.
Right.
But I do want to address in the question, she talks that it says everything is about what he wants, what he prefers, and then everything is her quote problems, right? Which is exactly what you were doing. Everything was my fault. It was all, my family is like this, so Melanie, that's why you're so blah, right? It was not kind, loving, accepting, growth mindset. It was not like, we're in this together. It was like, you're messed up, I'm great, right? That's how you were kind of perceiving it. And it was like, we're going to do what I want to do. It was all about, I want to go on a hike. And then I would be like, well, I'd rather not. And you'd be like, well, let's just go ahead and go on that hike. And you're like, what? And so and unfortunately, like that was a pattern after we had kids too. So it made the kids unhappy as well. And, but there's a lot that's a lot, I guess is what I'm saying. That's very hard to deal with. I would say you could use the clearing structure, go to anatomyofmarriage.com, go on the tools thing. And the clearing structure is, a way to tell your partner what you want and how you're feeling about a particular thing in a way that removes the kind of like emotional fight, flight, freeze part of it.
You're not blaming. You're like, this sucks because of you. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's I am feeling this. Let's work on this.
And I would say to start there, because it's the one way where you can introduce this idea of like, hey, I don't like it when you make me watch a horror film. If you made me watch a horror film, you'd be not married to me. Because I hate horror films like so much. But so if that's a good place to start, where you're saying, I'm going to start with the horror film thing and use the clearing structure and then see how he responds. That's my first thing, is try just that. Walk through the clearing structure, watch the video, the how-to on the clearing structure. It should be in the tools, I think. If it's not, Kenan, please link it. But you can start there with the little things of like, hey, you could even make a list of like, this many times I've suggested something, and here's how many times we've done what I wanted.
Right.
But you have to remember not to attack. That's the biggest thing I was doing wrong when we were going through Seth's stuff or our stuff, was I attacked him all the time. I didn't know how to present new ideas without attacking, so that was not helpful. But thank you for the question. I hope that helped.
Okay, diving into this one, then we'll get to the other question on Instagram Live. Is there a specific podcast that you have done that encompasses a lot about church and the evolution of faith in a marriage / your own journey of healing and experience with organized religion? Yeah, I think that, I don't know if there's been a specific podcast about that. I don't remember. I know that we've had several conversations and kind of like our own faith journey or relationship with organized religion and stuff like that.
Well, there's a few. So if you look up, again, you can go to anatomyofmarriage.com and search in the search bar. You should be able to find one that says the community episode, Tools of Marriage Community, has some of our church journey in it. And you can hear me singing in church because I put the music in it. But so that has some of that, but that's more about the importance of community. And then we have done some, if you search faith, like the word faith, you will probably find several episodes, because we've done some, but they are usually like Q&A style, like answering a particular question.
Right.
But did you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that we were part of, so I grew up in the church, Melanie grew up Catholic, which was not a really big deal to you, right? And I grew up in a Southern church, so it was very black and white. You do this, you don't do that. You kind of like, you can't push these boundaries, blah, blah, blah. Very conservative, ugh, yuck. And however, it did set a framework for me that helped me later on, right? And then we got married, and we went to this church called Mars Hill in Seattle, and it was very kind of like patriarchal, top-down kind of thing, and it was good for a while. We got some good counseling there. We made a ton of awesome friends. We
the
served.
community was amazing there.
We played music there for a long time. We met a ton of people, and then it started going sideways and kind of imploded and went goofy, because that's what churches do, and all the well, sometimes they do, and all the like stock was in this one pastor guy, and he turned into a real piece. So
a real piece.
A real pizza. And so that kind of turned us off to church for a long time. However, I feel that I have grown an amazing amount in my spirituality and my actual connection to God, Creator, and like, big time. And we do a bunch of Native spirituality stuff that's super helpful, and it's like
Seth does.
peaceful.
I don't.
Well, you're Native too, but you don't participate in it as much. And one of the things that has helped me so much is like, that verse, be still and know that I am God, right? Subtract one word from that. Be still and know. Be still, be, right? So God, I believe, loves me just like this. Be. All I have to do is be. Be present, be thankful, be helpful, just be who I am, who God made me, right? And that's so helpful for me, because it's such an opposite of how I grew up. And that is kind of my faith journey. And we pray still. We go to church now for community stuff, and we want to get involved at this local church that we're just right down the road. So
yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to give your synopsis?
I don't know. Like Seth was saying, I didn't grow up. I mean, I grew up going to Catholic church, but didn't care about it. I became a Christian at 19, which was a super weird experience of just like, I don't know what's happening. This is happening. And so my experience with faith is very like visceral. It feels like it happened to me. I had no particular part in it, which feels weird. But one of the things that's been the most helpful to me is finding teachers that teach what you need to hear, if that makes sense. Joyce Meyer is my absolute all-time favorite Bible teacher of all time ever. Do I agree with everything she says? No. Do I agree with everything the church or the Bible says? No. And do I understand a lot of it? No. Have I read all of it? No. Have you? Probably not. And what's so frustrating is that people like follow it and think, oh, the church this and that. It's like, have you read the entire Bible? Like, don't be weird if you haven't read the whole thing. And if you have read the whole thing, you should be questioning some of it.
Right.
Lots of it's really crazy.
Yeah, and it's okay to have questions too.
Yes,
like
it
this
is.
whole deconstruction thing. Like when I was growing up, you didn't question anything. I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" As I grew older, I was like, "Well, that's a bunch of pile." I mean, some of the stuff is right, but it's okay to question.
Yeah.
God, I believe that God loves you, Creator loves you if you ask a question.
Yeah.
Jeez, people, right? So here's the thing. What would be your suggestions for a couple that each grew up in a different Christian denomination of church but are now trying to find a church that has them as a couple?
Go listen to season 1. It's Charlie and Nicole's story. They grew up in different denominations of the same church, and his church did not believe that you should use instruments, and Nicole's church, her family was the band, the worship band.
Right.
Listen to that episode. But I do think it starts with, it's like honoring differences, promoting linkages. If you grew up in different denominations, those are your differences. Honor them. Don't put them down.
Honor them.
Promote don't you dare. Promote the linkages. Find a church that you both agree on together, or figure out who can sacrifice what and do it in a loving way, not in a mean kind of a way.
Right. Okay. Me, I'm in the same boat. I question a lot. Good. That's okay. You should.
Someone else says...
Hold on. I'm not done. I believe in God, but don't agree with everything. Yeah. You don't have to agree with everything.
Yeah.
So people might get mad at that, but I don't believe you have to.
Someone else wrote, the Deconstructionist podcast and the Liturgist podcast have been so helpful for me as I've deconstructed. That's great. We had Mike McCarg of the Liturgist podcast on our show in season 1. You should listen to it.
That's right. So I'm trying to find a church as a couple. Yeah. Keep on trying out a bunch of stuff. And this answer is going to be like, what are you talking about? So guess what? It almost doesn't matter.
It matters.
It sort of doesn't matter.
I'll tell you what I think matters more than what we think matters is the community in that church. I think that people, do we feel safe around the people? Do we think that they hold the same values that we hold? Meaning, would they raise our kids the same way we would want to raise our children? Because I think that's part of why we went to Mars Hill. It's such a different culture than what was out in our area at the time. And the values of the people who created that church building. So God is not a church. God is God, and churches are things people make to worship Him or it, whatever. God.
That's why I say creator.
Creator sounds weird, but sounds like a weird hippie.
You sound weird.
But that's, I think, really important thing to think about is if you have children, do you want your kids to be around the people who attend that church? I'm not as interested in like what hats do they wear or what color are their robes or do they ring bells after communion or not. Catholic. Robespierre. Because that to me is like, those things don't matter if the people are all jerks.
Right.
I'm not putting my kid in Sunday school with those weirdos. Like, no, find a church that has people that you think are your people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, okay, here's a good question. So we like parties, right? At our old house. It was nothing better than, I like to cook too, so I really like hospitality. I love to cook for 1 million people and have 1 million people over, and we like
30-foot high bonfires.
Yeah, we like fireworks, we have drinks, we have great food, and then we have great desserts, right? And all of our friends would come over, and so any one of those people that we invited to our own party, to our house, I would trust and say, you know what? And most of them were Christians. Some of them were not, but who
they
cares,
all went to
right?
Mars Hill too.
Well, a lot of them did, yeah. But it's like, okay, do I want to sit with these kids in our people in church? Yes, I do, because we share the same values. They're not boring. They're not like black and white, like ugh, So, do I want to go to a church that is like black and white? I wouldn't want to have them over for a giant bonfire while holding a beer in my hand. No.
You're really like, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the people are really important. Someone wrote, at the same time, the Bible, wait, maybe I missed the top one. No, it says the Bible is not a bag of trail mix. You can't just pick out what you like and leave out what you dislike. I agree, question it, research it, but you can't pick and choose what suits you. It's a hard one with so many different people with different backgrounds and beliefs. I agree with that concept, but I also think you can pick and choose. That's what we do. Like, as much as you say, and I agree, and I'm not disagreeing with you, so don't hear me as disagreeing. Like, you go, well, you can't just pick and choose what you like from the Bible. Hashtag everybody does that.
Right.
That's why we quote Bible verses like, all things are possible through Christ who strengthens me. But we ignore Bible verses like, and then they killed thousands of people because they raped Diana or whatever her name is, right? Like, who's quoting that on their Christian mugs? Nobody. Yeah. We do pick and choose. So as much as we shouldn't, we do.
Yeah.
And I'm totally not going to stop picking and choosing.
Yeah.
Not like I'm like, I'm going to pick and choose because I'm a jerk. I do what I want.
Right.
But it's like, no, that's what people actually do.
Yeah, well, I think people pick and choose with political
They do it with
affiliations.
everything. We do it with relationships, with our children, and with,
Right.
I mean, we do it with absolutely everything. And so I
let's
get what
take-
you're saying.
So let's take that human experience and be like, okay, yeah, we do actually pick and choose with everything. And if we're honest, we even do that with the Bible or whatever other religion we're in, because we're not perfect, right? So it's not like just pick and choosing, like, you know, God hates divorce. Well, I don't know. I've got eyes for this other lady, so I'm going to get a divorce, but it should be cool. That's just messed up. That's not being a good person.
Well, I go back to everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. That's a Bible verse.
That's a good one.
You can do anything. The Bible says you can have multiple partners. You can cheat on your way. Everything is permissible. Not everything is beneficial.
Right.
What kind of life do I want? If I follow the steps of the things that are beneficial, I will get the life that I want. If I follow the steps of things that are permissible, everything, I will not get the life that I want.
This is why I really like the wisdom literature a lot, like Ecclesiastes, Psalms, Proverbs, and then also writings of Rumi or Wayne Dyer or other I don't know, books, right? Because the Tao Te Ching, which is Eastern philosophy stuff. It's like, this is wisdom. It's not, if it's not biblical wisdom, then we can't take it. No, it's just wisdom.
Yeah.
Like, is it biblical to drive the speed limit so you don't die and crash? No, that's just good wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Is it? It's like being professional at work.
Someone says, I have been struggling with finding a church. Does the church really matter? Can't you find it? Wait, what is it? It moved away. Can't you find community elsewhere? Yes, yeah, you can find community elsewhere. And that's like what we were saying. The friends that we have over where we have our big parties, those are community. Those are people that we went to church with, but when our church exploded, we stopped going to church because there wasn't one. And those are like really our church, really.
Oh, and
those
guess what?
are
Facebook community too.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So one of my friends was talking about, Facebook. Well, that's just digital, or Instagram. That's digital. That is becoming our reality. It's not just like, my online community. It's like, it is the community that I am choosing to be a part of. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm like, reaching them through the web or not, or if you know what, we have community right now. Oh, well, we're reading questions, so I can't see you face to face. No, you're in real time asking a question. We are answering it, and we are relating to one another.
I want to read this.
This is part of a community, right?
Okay. She writes, I devoured both Shannon Martin's books, Falling Free, and The Ministry of Ordinary Places. She talks a lot about finding your place and people in church and how to create the real meaning of biblical church, body of believers. I think that sounds amazing. Thank you for sharing those. These are good questions, and faith stuff is crazy because everyone's got really strong opinions about it, which are all family of origin based, which are all based on preferences. Anyway, thank you for the question, though, and I hope that it doesn't feel like I'm being mean.
Okay, we're going to save that.
No, we're not. We're going to answer it. So someone wrote on our Instagram, which was it?
I don't want to say the name. I just want to read it.
Taking a break from your partner.
You guys are blowing up the stuff today. Thank you.
What are your feelings or thoughts on a married couple taking a break? Okay,
short-term separation, like a couple of weeks.
Literally just talked to Dr. Corey Allen of Sexy Marriage Radio about this concept for the app. So this stuff will be in the app, his response. But one of the things that he was talking about was that in a married relationship, when there are, what did he call it? Gridlock issues. Something like, you're doing this thing and I actually... We've been dealing with it for, let's say, 10 years. And I'm like, I can no longer deal with this thing, but you're still doing it. So whatever that is, it could be just like the idea of we feel like we're not in love, or you've cheated, whatever it is, right? There's a gridlock issue. It's always you. So you take that, here's what he was saying. You have some gridlock issue, and you decide as the partner who feels like you cannot take it anymore, you can take a break. But what he was saying is that people often think, I'm going to leave. I'm going to pack all my stuff. I'm going to do it in a fit of anger. I'm out, right? And he said there's this switch that happens. And I feel like we've had this switch where...
You've taken a break before?
Can you listen? A switch that happens where you're no longer interacting from that place of fight, flight, freeze, like amygdala... lizard brain,
right?
And you're saying, okay, I can calmly tell you you're not welcome to speak to me that way anymore. And if you continue to speak to me that way, I am going to go somewhere else. And until you can speak to me kindly, I won't come back,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I call Seth and then he's mean again, I say, okay, that's the boundary I've created, honey. I'm not going to talk to you until you can show me that you also respect that boundary. So one of the things that he suggested was if people feel like they're in that place, totally fine. That is totally fine. The first step you'd say was you either leave and stay in a different room in your home, right? Or you stay in an a hotel or with your in-law or, your family, whatever.
Right.
A sister, a friend, whatever that looks like. But you have weekly meetings. He said that the most important thing is that you have regular contact about, okay, what is the next step of what we're doing? What is this separation for? What is it about? Why are we doing it? What is our goal? And you have to talk regularly. It could be even every 3 days or every 2 days or something, so that you can get a read on what people are doing and thinking and feeling through the process. And then you also can have like okay, I'd like to come back by this time or this day. Can we figure this problem out by then? Does that make sense?
Right.
You have a goal, essentially. A very clear goal. But one of the things too is that you have to lay new boundaries. So if it's something like Seth is always talking to me in this way and he's calling me names or whatever that is, I have to say that behavior must stop in order for me to stay, right? And that's not like I'm the boss of everything, I win.
Right.
That's just this is a thing that's really damaging and we
Right.
can't continue to do it.
It's having a clear and determined autonomy on your boundaries, right? This is a boundary for me. You can't do this anymore, and I'm not going to allow you to treat me this way, right? So sometimes in relationships, we don't even know that we're enabling, Like, you can enable by just omitting or just default, It's like, oh, well, he talks to me that way, or she's like this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, this is what I want for myself. So it's really it's a process of differentiation, I guess, to a very strong degree.
Yeah.
These are my terms for how I want to be treated. It's not, you're not being irrational, you're not being stupid, unless it's like, you don't give me $500 a week. That is my boundary. This is what I want, right? I mean, that's just goofy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, that reminded me of like when we were going through the terrible stuff, like, and I remember that the one night I was like, and I left to a different room and literally locked myself in the room so you couldn't get in because you were just going and going and going. I was like, no, this isn't. And I think that really, really helped you to realize something. And you came back the next morning after we both slept alone. I was like, oh, geez.
Well, I realized that you had boundaries before.
Right.
I didn't know that you did. Like,
Right.
and I was the bully in this. I was terrible to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good point. That when it instead of just saying I'm going to leave and then never leaving, if you actually do a thing, that changes the perception. Your partner goes, oh, wait.
They mean business.
They mean business.
That's what it means. It's kind of like parenting with a kid. Like, we've gone through this a couple different iterations with our kids, and like, hey, this is not how it's going to be. And then they come to us 1 hour later, like, I don't like this new thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
I don't like the boundaries you've put in place.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
You can't do that and then expect this, and that's not what we're doing.
Yeah, but
so initially that I kind of ruffled at that. It's like, what a break, a sabbatical from your thing. But I'm understanding that it's all about boundaries. It's about how you want to be treated. So that question is a really good question. I think the constant communication, or like every 2-day communication, and then having an end goal. It's almost like a leave of absence from work kind of thing. You're not just saying, well, F work, forget it, I'm out of here.
I'll never go to work again.
Like, no, there's real problems. I'm burnt out. I'm stressed. I'm whatever. I'm going to take this break and focus on the things that need to be different. So when I do come back at a predetermined time, things will be different, and I will be set up for success.
Yeah, and I would say take that time, if that's what you're planning on doing, take that time to really lay out what the new expectations are. And also get therapy. Talk with someone who can help you mediate these things together. So go see a counselor, either individual and then together, but have a goal for a time frame, have a goal for what the new boundaries are, have a goal for what the new expectations are, and how you want to be treated. And if you're not treated that way, what the process is of figuring that out together. Yeah. None of that has to be done with a totally B-word attitude.
Right.
None of that has to be shouted. It's not a threat. It's saying, this is how I do things now. Like, it's not... I don't know. We can do all of that stuff really well.
You can do it with professionalism. Maybe that sounds weird, but be professional in your marriage.
Yeah.
So, okay, you guys, we're wrapping it up. thank you so much. Happy Friday. You guys get 33 minutes of awesomeness. Thank you for engaging in Facebook Live and Instagram Live. I absolutely love that because it's community. We're talking to you. You guys are talking to us. You guys are talking to each other. You know, tagging each other in the comments, and that is so cool. I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
So, okay, 2 things. Remember, July 25th, Seattle AOM meetup. We're going to have some food. We're going to go to a restaurant and a bar or whatever. There might be dancing. I don't know. If you're lucky, Melanie will sing karaoke. I'm not sure yet.
If Trolls comes on, they'll be dancing.
Oh, yeah. I will too. So July 25th, it's a free event, donations, but I have to do the Eventbrite. So look for that in your emails, and we'll post it on Facebook and stuff as well. Melanie, what's your one call?
As always, thank you for joining us. Please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. It's a really extremely helpful way for people to find our show, for people to know that it's worth listening to, and it just is an amazing way also for us to get feedback. We do this every single day because we love you guys. This community is amazing, so please rate and review the podcast, and we'll read it on the show.
That's right. Okay, guys, have an awesome weekend. We love you, and be rad.
Bye.
Bye. Well, hey, Dana. How are you? You just caught us at the end of the live show, but this is the post show, so let's see. July 25th is going to be the Seattle thing. Love you too, Ivy.
That's
Haley,
right.
Let's see. So excited for July 25th. Hopefully, I'm assuming you're close by, so that'll be awesome. Erica, thank you. We're glad to.
Where should we go?
Wait a minute.
Where should we go?
Oh, I don't know yet. I'm deciding. So.
Oh, you're deciding. Oh.
Yeah.
It's not an AOM meetup. It's a Seth meetup.
Yep. I'm an 8.
July
25th is your birthday. Awesome, Dana. We'll sing a virtual happy birthday.
July 21st is mine.
That's right. Love you too.
Love you too.
Dana.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad that people think my hair looks nice. I was
look
very
nice.
Self-conscious about it. I parted it differently, and I was like, oh, I feel
You parted the
weird.
Red Sea. Ah!
I hate you.
That's a great question.
I don't hate you.
To Dallas. We already had a Dallas one. We hung out with you, remember?
We'll do it. I want to.
Nah.
We're going to go to Arizona and Utah in November. Send us your places to go in Arizona, Utah.
Hey, we could do an Las
Like
Vegas
Arches,
meetup.
Moab, those places. Anywhere with dinosaur things or gemstones.
Gemstones.
Oh,
boy.
Are there any Indiana Jones things?
Yes.
Where?
In the
What?
first scene of...
Is that Moab? Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's that area. That's southwest.
I had that idea when I was putting my makeup, and I was like, oh my gosh.
That's going to be awesome. Okay. We would love to come
We
back
have
to
not
Dallas.
come to California, and we want to.
Yep.
I was actually just talking about wanting to do a marriage summit with Dr. Corey Allen, and I said we should go to California. People in
We have
California
ton of
aren't
listeners
jaded.
They're not jaded.
We said we couldn't do it in Seattle because people wouldn't talk. We're too busy being like moody.
Moody.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Am
okay,
I?
you guys. Love you. Oh, Los Angeles. Yeah.
We'll
LA.
have to- I've
LA
never
would be
been
the
to
place
LA.
to go. You too, Dana. Thank you. Your
Yes,
artwork is awesome.
it is awesome.
Minnesota. Geez, all these people. Okay.
My grandma was from Minnesota. That's where my native.
That's where her
folks
tribe
are.
is from. White Earth.
Chippewa.
Okay, guys. Love you.
You gotta
See you later.
go.
We got to go. I got to go to the bakery.
I didn't think you were gonna say that.
I have to.
You
All
have
right.
to.
Bye.
Bye.